You guys don't have to be quiet. I don't know what time. We still have like 6 minutes? 3 minutes? 3 minutes? Oh, right. There's a Siri countdown timer that goes off or something like that. It's above my head. Shit, man.
The music turns off too.
The music turns off. And then Dave comes up and says, "Present Dave." They should, right? Like a spotlight all of a sudden appears on me. That'd be dope. I would. Here's the thing. I'm that kind of person. I would totally do it. Will, we never had a spotlight at Aces, right? We've only just turned the lights off. We never did a spotlight on anyone. I don't think so.
I don't think the places you got were
Equipped for it? You make it sound like I'm cheap.
Come on, it's just one spotlight.
In all fairness, dude, you bought the ice cream and a beer yesterday, and I bought you like 2 very expensive whiskeys. Who's the cheap one now?
Hold on a second. You call $8 whiskey expensive?
As someone who doesn't drink whiskey, yeah.
I think you pay more for beer.
Probably did. You know that exquisite Corona is very expensive. Oh, that would be amazing. I love the, I blew my kid's mind the other day because he's getting into Harry Potter, and I did the, you can say Lumos to Siri and it turns your flashlight on. Oh yeah, this is true. So there's a bunch of Harry Potter spells you can tell Siri. So turn Siri on and say Lumos, and she'll turn your camera on. There you go. Oh, yeah, my 8-year-old had the same reaction as you did, dude. Right? And he's like deep into Harry Potter, so like to do that for him is literally like I watch his eyes melt out of his face. If you follow us on social, I think one of our posts like last week was like a whole list of like 13 Harry Potter commits. It's not on our YouTube yet, but Virtual Computers on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Yeah, man, gotta build that social cred.
Right.
Check my what? Check my phone. My phone's off on purpose, man.
Hello, attendees. The presentation is about to begin. As a courtesy to the speaker and your fellow attendees, please silence all electronic devices at this time. Thank you.
You're welcome, God. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, I know everyone had like a carbo load breakfast, so before I even begin, I'm gonna have everybody, let's stretch out, because everyone stand up. Simon says, stand up. Simon says, put your hands over your head. Simon says, put your hands to the side. Simon says, jazz hands. Put your hands down. Oh, you're all out. There you go. Sit down. Okay. Get that on YouTube. All right, before I start, I know a lot of people don't know who I am. I am a very funny, move around, New York kind of guy. I will talk a lot, but I actually got this DM this morning and I thought I really wanted to share this because when I'm not doing presentations like this, I talk a lot about mindset and abundance, and this came in, and I want everyone to think about this for the rest of the day. I want to know that you are beyond wonderful. Stop focusing on what's wrong and what you're not good at, and take a deep breath. Smile. No, seriously. Breathe. Big ass smile, say out loud to yourself, meaning out loud, I am grateful for what I have and I am amazing, okay? I want everyone to think about that for the rest of the day because I know these kind of conferences are long and you're learning a lot and you're thinking to yourself, I can't do this. You can. That's how we're gonna start. Now, mindset aside, hi, my name is Justin Esgar. I own the Virtual Consulting Company. We are an Apple consultant based in New York City. We have an Apple authorized service providership based in Columbia, Missouri. I have clients in Des Moines, Iowa, because I want to be the Abe Froman of Apple Consulting across the Midwest. So welcome to Peanut Butter and Jelly, a love story made in documentation. Now, it's funny to me because I haven't been to this conference in 10 years. I was looking this up on the archives the other day. I did a presentation in 2013 about big IT versus small IT, and I actually mentioned documentation like 4 times in it. And here we are 10 years later, and I'm giving like a full-on presentation about it. So to me, this is hilarious because not much has changed in the world of documentation because it's kind of a boring topic, but we're gonna make it fun, and we're gonna make it interesting, and the rules are still kind of the same. So one piece of note, because I'm an Apple consultant, I call my users clients. I know many, show of hands, who's in education? How many are in corporate? Consultants? Okay. Client, user, same thing to me. So if you hear me say client, it's the same thing as what a corporate person would call user. So I will use those interchangeably, so just go with it for the show. So heroes come in all shapes and file sizes. As technology continues to evolve at a rapid pace, it's more than ever is important for us to like keep track of what we're doing, right? So think of documentation as your superhero sidekick. Where is he? There he is. They're always there to save the day when you're in a bind. They help, they guide you, right? And without it, you are just flying into a storm and you're going to affect your users, your clients, your staff, whoever. So let's dive in, talk about why it is crucial for success. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking documentation is a lot of written words, but it doesn't have to be, right? We're all in IT. It could be videos, diagrams, photos. Think about it as a recipe for success. This is mine. Much like a recipe for making, I don't know, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Those ensure you get the outcomes you are desiring. So, I know it's early, but let's do an activity. Okay? You have 5 minutes for this scenario. I want you to break into teams. If you're next to somebody, that's gonna be your teammate, just to make this thing nice and easy. You get a phone call from a user who's freaking out because they do not know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because I can see the future, in 5 minutes, another phone call is gonna interrupt you. So you have these 5 minutes to write these instructions. You have looked on the internet, you have used the Google, you have nothing in your internal knowledge base. There is nothing you have found anywhere. There's no GitHub, there's no code repository, there's nothing that explains how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You have to write this documentation, okay? I'm gonna have you break into teams. Hopefully my timer works. For those who are watching on YouTube, just skip. You have 5 minutes. Grab that piece of paper and pen in front of you and write me information on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Time moves fast. You only got 3.5 minutes left.
Can we assume they have all the stuff?
I'm sorry?
Can we assume they have all the ingredients necessary?
All the information's on the task. Stop cheating. Not gonna pick on you anyway. You guys gotta write it down.
Oh, ChatGPT, dude.
I like it though. Good thought process. It's good. It's very good. I like that.
Is this how you fill a 75-minute presentation with 25 minutes of material?
The mic is on, Mister. I shouldn't even be here.
How was last night?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was.
This 6:30. I gotta help a customer with an emergency server problem. Yeah, I got you. 15 seconds. I wasn't even paying attention. 10, 9, 8, 5. What happened to 6? Just kidding. 1. All right. Like a test. Pens down, hands up. Stop cheating. Okay. By the way, this is a free extension in PowerPoint if anybody wants it. Let's see if we can progress past it. It'd be nice. There we go. Okay. Who here thinks they made the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich? You guys did? You guys are a team? Give me your paper. You're in trouble now. Handwriting's not bad. Okay, what's your name? Luke. It doesn't say your name on here, Luke. How am I supposed to know it's you?
DNA.
Fingerprint, okay. Verify that's what they want. Okay, fair, right? They want a peanut butter and this. Verify they have the ingredients. They have a knife. Who has a knife? Them, the random person, okay. Let them know how long this may take. Very good. How long does it take to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? What if you have really cold bread? There you go. Explain steps on how to put together. Okay, here we go. Let me put gloves on for sanitary reasons. I actually had to bug one of the hotel staff. I was like, my man, can I get some gloves? And he just looked at me really weird. I was like, it's not for what you think. I was like, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, bro. What do you think's happening? Let's be honest. All right. Lay two pieces of bread down. Spread jelly on one. So I don't know how to spread jelly. You didn't give me any instructions on that. So oh, that's gross. Let's check that up. He wrote spread jelly. I'm reading their directions verbatim. By the way, if you get jelly on my jacket, I'm gonna be pissed. All right. I have 2 pieces of bread down. I'm gonna spread jelly on one piece. Because you didn't tell me how or how much. Spread peanut butter down the other, just so everyone's safe, just to be safe. We got sun butter, there's no peanut allergies here. Spread peanut butter on other piece. Well, the problem is that this is closed and it's not opened yet, and there's no instructions on how to open it. So I'm just going to make that assumption for you. Don't worry about it. All right, let's put a piece of paper down because I don't want to ruin Penn State's gorgeous tables. So, okay, spread peanut butter on the other. Put two pieces together. Ask, what's that say? Ask at end if they got what they wanted. Okay, cool. Come here. Here you go, Luke. Is this what you wanted? Is that a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Well, technically.
Technically. All right, who else has one? I know you're going to get it right. No, not you. The problem is I know people. You think you got it? Do you have it written down, though? No. I don't want to touch your laptop. You want to bring it over here? Okay, cool. You just want to get into my YouTube video. All right, what's your name? Jared. Hey, YouTube, this is Jared. He's not supposed to be in the video. Just go with it. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Oh, I got it. Materials needed. I should probably change gloves, right? We'll pretend I changed gloves. This is sanitary enough. Is there health violations at PSU? All right. Materials needed. 2 slices of bread. Peanut butter.
Jelly or jam. Any flavor you prefer.
Very good. Jelly or jam, any flavor. Well, the problem is my user has like 4 different types of jellies and jam. So which one should we go with?
Strawberry.
So of course, the one that's not the red cap. Okay, so we have to open another one. By the way, big ups to Gretchen for buying me all of this stuff. I asked her what she wants me to do with all the leftovers, and she said donate it. I don't know who's going to take it. A butter knife or spreader. Does this count as a spreader?
No, that's a spork.
But I don't know that.
Right. Oh, yeah, you can use it as a spreader.
I can use this as a spreader? Okay, cool. So I have a spork as a spreader.
A clean plate.
A clean plate. All right, I don't have any clean plates. We'll just use a napkin. That's on me. See, Gretchen, I told you to get plates. I'm just kidding.
And a bread knife.
I don't know, but you're
Optional for crust removal.
Look at that. Optional. So I already have, but you already had a knife on the thing. So you had a butter knife and a bread knife.
Yeah.
So now I need 2 knives.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a dumb user.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to have 2 knives.
Good luck.
Okay. We'll go with it, right? Okay.
All right. Prepare the bread. So place.
Keep in mind, hold on, real quick. I just want to point out, they use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Okay. Prepare the bread. Place 2 slices of bread on your clean plate. Spread the peanut butter. Oh, and there's actually directions behind it.
Yeah.
Open the jar of peanut butter. Good. Use the knife or spreader to scoop up some peanut butter. Spread peanut evenly to one side of 1 slice of bread. Make sure it covers the entire slice. If you prefer more peanut butter, feel free to add to the other layer. Okay, I'm going to do this quick. Not that I don't have enough time. I have plenty of time, but it's fine. So we'll spread. By the way, I'm using the back of a spork because, again, the instructions aren't 100% clear, but that's okay.
Spread the jelly or jam is pretty much the same instructions, but for the other slice of bread.
Open the jar of jelly jam using a clean knife, so that's a good one, using a clean knife or spreader, or the one used for the peanut butter. Scoop up some peanut butter, spread it to the other side, blah, blah, blah. What did you say? I'm gonna go fast on this one. Yeah. Yeah, like what if, that does an instruction. I could have just done this. When I spread it, would you eat that peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Ugh, some butter is gross. I mean, I feel bad for people with peanut allergies, but some butter is horrible. Yeah.
It does say peanut butter, not sunflower butter. So.
No, sunflower butter. Right there. Trust me. We're safe here at PSU.
All right. Combine the slices. So once both slices are properly covered, carefully place the slice with peanut butter on top of the slice with jelly, with the spread sides facing each other.
There you go. I almost did it, but he said it right, because I was literally going to put the peanut butter on the... Okay. So carefully. How carefully?
I mean, treat it like a baby. Yeah. Very careful. I don't know. Just
I love you, Roman. I love you, Simona. All right.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
And what do we do? So we have some optional things here at the end.
Okay.
Optional crust removal.
Okay.
So if you prefer, you can cut the crust off your sandwiches with your knife, with your clean knife.
feel bad for whoever's taking a presentation in this room next because I'm not cleaning up after myself. Okay.
Oh, hang on. I've got a step for that at the end.
Okay. Oh, is there? Okay. Yeah. So now I've made a crustable.
Yeah. And then optional, cut the sandwich. If you prefer, you can now cut the sandwich into 2 halves, either diagonally or straight down the middle. And it can make it easier to eat.
There you go.
And then serve. So you're going to serve your sandwich. It can be enjoyed later or packed later. Or put it in the fridge for a short time.
There you go.
And then clean up your stuff.
And clean up your stuff. I like that. Good job. Points for you. Oh, you can have that. I'm not touching that thing. All right, we're gonna make. Nobody cheat. We're gonna make more peanut butter jelly sandwiches later, just because I want to get through the presentation. We'll clean it up. Okay, so why is documentation so important? Let me get the sun butter out of my mouth. Oh, man. All right. So there's 6 reasons why documentation is important, right? We have consistency. No matter who on your team is reading these instructions, same results must happen. Accuracy. You reduce the chance of errors by providing that proper documentation for all of your team members. Continuity. There's changes in staff, but there shouldn't be changes in service levels. Obviously, efficiency, right? Get things done faster. Word we all love in IT, scalability. You can more easily grow when you know what information you need. And this is a big one, protection. Because I'll get into this in a little bit, but you need to protect your business, your school, your consultancy, whatever, from legal action. So this goes without saying, documentation is especially important in our industry. So let's talk a little bit about standardization. When you're writing a to-do list, what's the first thing you put on your to-do list? Make to-do list, right? So this is going to be the document on how to make documentation. It seems silly when you say it out loud, but when you're working through a lot of it, this is your guidebook for how to write the rest of the stuff you need. So we actually have in our documentation system a how-to make how-tos. Okay? So we have our title, explains what the document is, short, subtitle, kind of a little piece of information. So let's use an example, migrating a website. Next we have our expectations with some bullet points. We expect to be able to migrate the website. We expect mail not to go down. We expect no DNS problems. And we expect the website to be working the same way as it did before on the new host. We have our quick overview. This is who's involved, people, process, timing, things like that. Vital information. Do we have their, by the way, the slides will all be available. You can. That was a good one, right? Okay, cool. So the vital information. Do we have all the information we need from the client, the user? Do we have the domain registrant? Do we have the passwords for this, that, whatever? All that vital information. Do we have phone numbers for the people we need to call when inevitably ish hits the fan, right? Followed up by the details. Here's where we're going to lay out the steps. Step 1, log into this. Step 2, back up the data. Step 3, go to the new server, put it in. Boom, 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 boom. Laid out, very detail-oriented steps there. Next, we have our concise summary. We are going to move the site from A to B. These things should continue to work. Nothing should break. Everybody should be happy. And conclusion is, pop the bubbly. You did a good job. Now, on here also should be kind of what our example with the last peanut butter and jelly sandwich is options. One second. It should be optional things like, these are potential pitfalls. These are things you should look out for. These are things that may or may not be needed, such as maybe you want to cut off the crust on your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm supposed to throw you this box, by the way, in order to do this. But I'm a horrible toss, so.
I'm just curious why the concise summary comes at the end and how it differs from the overview.
The overview is going to talk to you about the reasoning for doing something. The summary is going to wrap up all the steps that you did to make that thing work. So the overview would be why we're moving a website. We're moving, people want to move their website because this host sucks. We want to go to this host. The concise summary is more along the lines of like, after you're moving the website, these things should continue to work. This is what we're expecting. So it's a little more like expectations than a summary. So let's talk a little bit about best practices. Be clear and concise. We tend to write in technical jargon because we're technical people. So here's your golden rule for clear and concise. Stop writing TLAs. Who knows what a TLA is?
Three-letter acronym.
TLA stands for three-letter acronym. It's an acronym of itself. Stop writing those. Stop writing MDM. Stop writing PSA. Stop writing RMM. Write clear and concise without technical jargon. You don't know who's going to be reading this document. They may not understand things.
Is it fair? Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Box.
Oh yeah, sorry. Chuck it! Ah!
Oh.
Now that's on YouTube.
Is it fair just to write it the full way the first time and then put parentheses with the acronyms?
Sure, you can do that. As long as you have, I tend to, if there's going to be a lot of that, I will tend to just put a list of definitions in the beginning. For those who write code, and you're going to check me on this one, like you define all your variables in the very beginning, right? So I don't write code. I could barely speak English. So you would write all those things in the beginning, right? What is an MDM? What is a PSA? What is an RMM? What is it? What is this? What is that? So you can reference it back. When it comes to the clear and concise thing, I tend to use the other golden rule I tend to use is write it so my mom can understand it. My mom still calls it the Facebook. Love you, Mom. And will tend to send me emails from her AOL account with, is this a scam? To which I write back, you're still on AOL. So like, if I can write a document that she can understand, even with definitions or whatever, then it works. So think like that, okay? Organize your documents. So we kind of just went over the how-to to how-to. This is kind of the same point. Lay it out clear, concise, title, header, subheader, bullet points, etc. Go away, number 4, whatever. Not all documents have to just be written, right? Use videos, use screenshots, use slides. If you don't like being on camera, use screen captures, right? It doesn't have to always be you talking. We like to use a program called Loom, L-O-O-M at Virtua. It puts you in a little corner, has like a screen recording behind you. We actually, our director of customer experience recently made a video on how, we just deployed the support app by Route 3, right? Route 3 on GitHub. It's a great app, love it. We just deploy that to our entire fleet, right? We manage like 600 machines. We made a document called How to Use the Virtua Support App. And in that document, where it's written, is a video of how to use the support app. And how to get to that document is actually in the Virtua Support app. So we're creating these like circles that everyone can get to. Now the other part about the video thing is like not everybody learns the same way. Many of you learn from reading. Many of you learn from watching videos. Some of us learn from audio. Some of us learn from personal interaction. So again, you don't know who's going to be reading whatever document you're about to write. Don't make it harder for them to understand that information. And then use analogies. What's the difference between an M1 and an M1 Pro? Well, what's the difference between a V6 engine and a V8? Right? People understand that. Or I'm going to steal an analogy from my friend Ben over there. He used this one yesterday, and I told you I was going to say it in the presentation. How do you define? You know what? I'll let you do it because it's yours, and I don't want to steal it from you.
Gotta remind me which one it was.
The keychain one.
Oh.
So how do you explain keychains to people?
Okay, so the way that I explain it to a wide range of people, and they all seem to get it, is back in the day when you used to go buy a car, the salesperson would come up to you and go, hey, can I put you in this car today? And they'd have to go get the keys for the car. So they'd go into the office, and hanging on the wall of the office, there would be a lockbox. And there was a single key which unlocked the lockbox, the keychain, and inside that were all the keys for the cars. And people get that kind of analogy. Like, oh, okay, so this is just one thing that's protecting a whole bunch of other things that protects something.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Everybody got it? It's amazing how they, in an IT conference, they're like, throw this thing. Yeah, like, do you know your audience? So yeah, so use analogies, okay? Now, we tend to organize documentation based on the thing that it is. So we have all of our software documentation over here. We have our technical documentation. I don't like doing that. I organize for who it's for. It makes more sense this way because then you know what you're writing and where your targets are. So who can we write documentation for? All right? We have end users or clients, employees, potential customers, which I'll explain how that works in corporate, partners and agencies, and the dreaded finance and auditors. So let's break this up, right? When you're writing documentation for end users, all of these confused people. One of these is my mom. I'm not going to tell you which one. It's not. The key information here when you're writing for end users is that they know nothing. Assume end users, clients, whatever, know zip. Never make assumptions. I heard somebody when we were doing the exercise, I think it was you guys, you said, can we assume they have a knife? No. You can't assume they know anything. How many times have we told a user or a client, restart your computer to fix that problem? They should know that by now. Users know nothing. So write documentation like that. Write it for them in the fact that you can't make any assumptions that they know anything. They need to be able to, like, you have to literally drag a horse to water with them, okay? So that's how we have to think about end users. And I know it's a crappy way to think about them, but like at the end of the day, when they're reading your documentation and it makes sense to them, you look like that superhero. So here's a great example of something you can give to a user, a manual. We all know what this means, and we've told this to people plenty of times. Manuals are step-by-step instructions. They're very easy to follow. Show of hands, who's ever built anything from IKEA? Greatest manuals on the planet. Why?
There's no words.
There are no words. There's no language barrier to getting against. There's no TLAs. There's no anything. There's just a picture of a weird-looking person with a tool that never works. There's a picture that says no power drills. I always use a power drill. So in these manuals, you can write these step-by-step directions. And again, we said earlier, use the pictures, use videos, use words, use flowcharts. You don't have to overload them with information, but they need to be able to follow clear, concise steps to be able to do so. The reason we write manuals like this is so that way the user has a better experience. And a happy user makes your lives easier. So let's now write for some employees or other staff members. So for those who are in education, in my opinion, teachers and students are users. Other staff members on your team are employees, okay? I want to put like some context to everything here. So when you're writing for internal staff, other employees on your team, things like that, the reason you're writing these is for that consistent service that we talked about earlier. Continuity, scalability. You want other people on your team to be able to do the same level of service as you would. When you were hired to do a job. When you got promoted and now you can do hiring, you don't hire someone who's worse than you hire someone who's better than you. A players hire A players and B players hire C players. And you don't want C players on your team. In order to keep that level of consistency, those B players, those A players, you need to explain them what to do. Because a lot of these people that you're hiring probably don't know the 40 years of experience that you have doing this job. The intricacies about why that chair over there sucks and why I sit in this chair. Why this teacher over there always has a problem with Zoom. These are things that you can just, on day one, give them a sheet or sheets. I mean, don't make the book this thick, but like, give them a bunch of information, and guess what? They can start and go, hey, I know why your Zoom's not working right away. So you want to keep that level of consistency with your employees. So a great example of an employee document is technical documentation. Anybody know what this is? Konami code. I love finding that on websites, by the way. So a great example for this is how to troubleshoot something. Okay? True story. At our company, we take care of an AWS server for a client that's running a really crappy piece of survey software. Anyone who's in nonprofit probably knows what I'm talking about. I have one guy on the team who knows how to fix this server. And from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock, he leaves because he's got a young child at home. He picks her up from camp. They spend time with his family. And he gets his job done at 8 o'clock. Literally Monday, because I drove here Tuesday morning. Monday, client calls at 4:30 in the afternoon and is like, survey software is not working. And my guy's not in the office. And there's no documentation on how to fix this. So I bought time. Hey, we're working on it. We'll get back to you soon. And it came at 8 o'clock, he came back on. And at 8:01, the server was back up. That was 4 hours of time that I could have mitigated had we had this. So Tuesday morning before I left, I called him. I said, listen, get on Zoom with these 2 people from our team, record it, show them what you did. They'll write the document because I'm not having this again. Because next time that person called me at 4:30 in the afternoon, it's fixed by 4:31. That is a troubleshooting document. It is written for technical-minded people. So the clear and concise rule is still there, but there could be some jumps, there can be some assumptions because we know who's reading it. Get it? End users, no assumptions. Internal team, for the most part, some assumptions. You can do that, it's okay. So potential customers. Now for people like myself and Will and Ben who are consultants, our customers are customers. But for those who are in education or corporate, what do you consider a customer? Well, what about teachers? That's a good one. What about other staff members who have not interacted with you that are coming to you with a project? We hired a new team. They're working on, I like this one, the Phoenix Project. And we need your help with it. We need you to manage the project. We need you to write the documentation to manage the project. We need to track what's going on, right? So that's a potential customer, even in the corporate. So I'm trying to put this into the right mindset here. So what can you write for them? How about some project documentation? Project documentation has timelines, budgets, waterfalls, which is when you have a timeline that shifts when things before it change. Kanban boards, things like that. Another great piece of this, though, is let's say you go, hey, this would be a great time for us to roll out Monday or ClickUp or some insert project management software here. This is a perfect opportunity for you to shine by going like, I can solve this problem, but now you have another problem. What's that new problem? Documentation on that piece of software. Why? Because users know nothing, right? Hey, I found this great piece of project management software. We're going to use this. We're going to manage the whole project. I can show you how this is from day one and final project. Everyone's going to be happy. What's going to happen day 2? A user's going to log in and they're going to go, this looks Greek to me. And they're not going to know how to use it. So now you have a great opportunity for 2 sides. You have project documentation and you have a user manual, user documentation. How many times, just a show of hands, how many times has this happened to you before it work? You've given users a new piece of software, they don't know how to use it. If you gave them that new piece of software with like a one-sheeter or a YouTube or a link to a video or something like that, and they didn't call you for 2 weeks, show of hands, who's happy? All of you should be happy because they're not bothering you, right? You've given them what they need to succeed. Partners, agencies, and auditors. This stems from one single word. Liability. We are the trusted source for data, for security, for troubleshooting. Has anybody been involved in a court case before, or been called to testify, or been brought up to look up information because one of your staff members is in trouble? I have. It's hard. It's painful. And without the right documentation, it becomes a he said, she said all the time. And that doesn't work well when you're trying to protect your clients. Yes. Oh, Catchbox, hold on. I'm not going to throw it because, obviously, because Ben's holding coffee and it's going to spill on your laptop.
Well, I'll grab it to make sure.
Yeah.
No, one of the things with this for us that I think about in education that I've been going through a lot is just compliance for things like cybersecurity insurance. Not even thinking about the auditors, not even thinking about those other people. Where we've had cases where we've needed to be able to provide information, not necessarily documentation. But it's a lot of what I end up doing, what I end up talking to other schools about, is if you want, specifically for cybersecurity insurance, if you don't have these things documented, if you don't have these things done, in the event of a breach, your coverage is blown. So if you want your school to go out of business, have them not be able to pay for a cyber ransomware.
Yeah, 100%. Hundy P. Good. Thank you, William. So make sure that you are protecting your organization, right? Let's see the distance on this clicker. Did I skip? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. All right. So now, we've talked about the how, we've talked about the who, let's talk about the what. What are we actually documenting in these papers? How about a workflow? Right? These are the steps to do something. Like we talked earlier about how to migrate a website. How about this one for education? These are the steps to enroll an iPad for a student versus an iPad for a teacher. Because what happens day one when you hired that real smart kid out of college and they enroll an iPad for a teacher and give it to a student, and now that student has access to all the other kids' grades? My kid is 8. He gets a Chromebook at school. He has tried to hack it every day, maybe because I'm his dad. There's workflows in place to protect that, right? I've looked at his Chromebook. He's not hacking anything. He's gone to like hackertype.com on his website and like pressed a bunch of keys. If anyone's never seen this website, it's an awesome website. When you press a bunch of keys, it just throws code up on the screen. So anyone who's like looking at your screen is like, what the hell is that person doing? And his friends he's in 2nd grade. His friends are like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, it's the funniest thing. But there's workflows and documentation written in his school district to say Chromebooks are enrolled in a certain way for students versus for teachers. Those who are in education, anybody use GoGuardian? Ever hear of GoGuardian? Yeah, So I had a school we were taking care of for a while. I loved GoGuardian. GoGuardian has a great little app because the teachers are Chromebooks also. It's a website you can go to, but you have to be a teacher login. And it lets you look at the students' laptops to see if they're doing what they're doing. There's AI built in to be like, little Johnny's not doing his math. He's on, I'm not going to say I'm on YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about, right? If a student got control of that because that new employee of yours didn't have a workflow to follow, and now can spy on everyone else's laptops, someone's getting fired, and it's probably 2 people. That person and the person who hired them. Don't be that person. How about changes? I apologize to the YouTube audience. I apologize here. I am a New Yorker. I tend to curse. The reason I have this one up here is because change management allows you to unfuck something. If a change happens and it goes sideways, how do you get out of it? Who do you call? What do you do? Having a change management document lets you undo that quickly because you need to get back to a working way. You can't be sitting there going, well, Zach pressed these buttons and now, no one can log into Microsoft Teams. It's not going to work. So you have change management documentation. Now my problem, I'll be honest, my problem with change management documentation is like you have to figure out what should be in the document. What's considered a change, right? You're not going to log every little thing because then you'd spend all day just writing this log. So how do you figure out what should be in the change management document? Anyone?
Number of people it affects, the box.
Thank you.
Quantity of people that it might affect or groups that it might affect?
Nope. This is an easy answer. How do you know what to put in a change management document? What is the topic of my conversation here today?
Read the other documentation that you've supposedly created.
You have a document describing what goes in the change management document, where you've defined the rules such as, does it affect more than 10 people? So you're on the right way, but let's just tie that together, right? What's the first thing you do when you make a to-do list? Make a to-do list. If you're going to write a change management document, you need to have instructions for that change management document. And I know it sounds like you're just sitting there writing all day long, but like, if you do it once, you're pretty much good. You just have to like audit it every couple of months, right? Because especially in our industry, whilst everything is changing all the time, the rules that you've written, because again, you wrote clear, concise, non-technical jargon rules, so we're talking about broad stroke rules, aren't going to change. So in your change management procedures, or SOP, will the change affect more than 10 people? Will the change affect the higher ups? Is the CEO involved? Those are the ones I want recorded. Installing an app for little Johnny doesn't count. Cool? So always think about it that way. If you're going to write a document of some sort, make sure you have what I like to call an SOP, standard operating procedure. Obviously, if I'm writing an SOP, I have in my SOP what SOP means, because it's all circular, comes back. Okay, so change management. How about client information? Remember earlier I said that employees that work for your company or the people you take care of in the school districts are also clients. Clients, users, same thing. All of us know the people we work with for the most part. We know their name. We know their email address. We know their phone number. To be good in IT, you must be able to have good customer experience. Your client, your employee, the teachers, whoever, must like you. You want them to talk to you. You want them to be friendly with you. How do you become friends with somebody? You know things about them. I have in our CRM, Client Relations Manager, I think it's called, Contact Relations Manager. Every CEO that I have that's in our system has a dog, and I have their dog's name. Why do I have their dog's name? For what? Their password? Is that what you said? No. That is a good guess. I'll tell you, wait, side note story. I had asked the CFO of one of my clients, I was like, what's your dog's name? And he told me, and I was like, now I know your password. And he's like, God damn it, Justin. And he changed all of his passwords like within 5 minutes. No, not for social engineering, though very solid answer. No, the reason I know my clients' dogs' names are when I have a client who calls me and he's mad, and then the dog pops up into the Zoom picture, oh, how's Rover doing? Instantly changes his mind. It puts people at different, because now I have that personal connection with that person, right? I'm no longer the person that can be berated because I didn't back up a computer or do something I was supposed to do, whatever it is, right? Immediately, things are softened because you have that personal connection. Another thing we do at Virtua is any person who's having a child, if any of our clients, any of our users are having a child, we send them a onesie with a picture of a bottle over a laptop that says, I don't cry when I spill milk, I call Virtua Computers. Right? Client relations, client experience, because I can follow up with that person. How's the baby? How's this? Whatever. And we track all that stuff. We'll send a birthday card. It makes the users like us better. And like, I don't mean look, there's a fine line between what I'm talking about and like stalking, right? And I understand that. And especially as an IT person, it seems like we cross that line pretty often. But you can create better relationships with your end users, your clients, or whoever by having this information. And I'm not expecting you to remember everybody's dog's names. I don't remember my own dog's names, right? But you have this thing that you can refer to, so keep some more information on people. Obviously, we talked about this one earlier, troubleshooting steps. I'm going to use one of Brad's examples yesterday, right? Brad, here, I'll use the catch box. You were telling a story about your software and how it, a user kept kernel panicking and then you sent that information to Apple, right? Like something like that?
Yeah, it was, they were like in a production environment with a lot of edit bays, and the systems kept crashing in the middle of their workday. This was also working remotely, and then when they log in, they'd find, of course, everything was lost. It took a number of these systems and collecting samples from them and sending them to Apple for analysis for them to figure out that this was actually a bug in Xsan itself and the Xsan libraries in Mac OS. And then they started working on a fix, and they implemented it in Ventura.
Cool. So the reason I want to use this example is when you have a scenario like that and people are running into the same problem over and over again, write the answer down. This way, when the next person has that problem, oh, it's being fixed by Apple, or oh, you're on Zoom 15.4 and you need to be on 15.5 or whatever. Write these troubleshooting steps down, because we all know this. If someone's having a problem, it's inevitably going to happen again. There is very few problems in our industry that have not already happened once before. When was the last time, like I know a lot of us go, this is the first time I've seen this, but like then you go Google it and there's like threads of people with the same problem, right? Like when has anybody ever seen a problem in IT that has literally never been seen before?
I've actually got one for that.
Of course you do.
No, really. And it's an interesting one. There was a hospital in 2018 that had all of a sudden the iPhones stopped working like in the middle of the day, but they were in a specific part of the hospital, and they couldn't figure out why these iPhones kept shutting down, and they kept track of when they were shutting down, and they kept happening near the MRI machines. And they were sending these dead phones to Apple, and they would come back and say, "Well, the phones are fine now." Well, they were fine. They turned back on, and they were like, "What's going on here?" They figured out that they had a helium leak in the hospital, and some of the chips inside the iPhones were sensitive to helium, and they were getting through the moisture barriers in the phones and shutting them down.
That's crazy.
They'd never heard that before.
Yeah. All right. So with the exception of Brad's unbelievable example, holy shit. I have 25 minutes left. I just want to sit here and like ponder that whole thing for like with the exception of that, the idea being though, like they probably, in order to figure that out, they had to write down what was going on. They weren't all sitting around being like, maybe it's the MRI machine, or maybe Kathy has an electromagnetic field. No, they were writing down what was going on. That's what I'm talking about by troubleshooting steps, right? Keep track of this stuff so this way you can solve problems faster. How about security protocols, right? Again, we're in charge of data. We're in charge of security. You hire a new person, they don't know anything. You gonna give them the keys to the castle right away? No. You're gonna make them understand your security protocols. I'm sorry, what's your name, sir? Bill. Bill said earlier about writing the documentation for cybersecurity, which means you probably have a lot of security protocols in place already at your organization. True? Somewhat. Yeah. In all fairness, everybody's somewhat. I'll take it as a true. But if you hire a high school kid as an intern for the summer, who his mom was like, my son replaced my Linksys router. You think he's smart? That kid doesn't know anything about security. Right? Maybe watch a couple YouTube videos or whatever. But if he can read the security protocols and understand this concept of what you're doing, those things won't break. What's our job? Stop letting things break. Really, our job is make the users do what they're supposed to do, but we'll get into that later. And training manuals. Going back to the security protocols, everything we've already talked about. I know a lot of this is repetitious, but you should have training manuals. On day one, here's the steps that you're going to do to get yourself set up with your computer, how to get your key card access, where the bathrooms are, how not to, piss off the principal. Here's what the superintendent's dog's name is, whatever it is. Because you want those staff members you're hiring to do well. You also have training manuals for people who you're taking care of. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Teacher. Here's how you connect to Zoom. Here's how you can talk to your students. Here's where the report card software is, things like that. Document this information, words, videos, screenshots, however it is, because you don't know how they're going to learn. And then software versions. Anyone who gets the slides after this is going to go like, I don't understand what any of these are. Everyone's using MDM now? Yes? We're all on MDM? MDMs track all that stuff for us, which is really nice and easy. But you need to know what's installed where. If you're in a security audit and someone comes up to you and goes, what version of Zoom is on your machine? Yeah, the look that Mark's giving me here, thanks buddy, appreciate it. The look that Mark's giving me here, he doesn't know. Y'all don't know. But if you're getting audited, you need to be able to know that stuff. Just hand in the piece of paper that has it all. So keep track of that stuff. Now, obviously, Zoom updates like 14 times a week now, and Slack's updating every other day. The gist of it will work. Everybody must be on X minimum requirements. We deploy new software on Fridays at 5. We rerun that deployment on Tuesdays. Those kind of things are what you're going to write. But wait, there's more. You could also track network configurations, hardware configurations, workarounds. I love workarounds. The top two those are easy. Workarounds. Everyone in the organization can't connect to the VPN when they're at Starbucks. What's the workaround? We figured it out. We're going to document it because Starbucks Wi-Fi blocks our VPN for X reason, right? Have that workaround. Why? Because if one person's having that problem, many people are going to have that problem. It's like the golden rule here. I've had 7 golden rules now that I'm thinking about it. So me being me and an entrepreneur, I do a lot of outsourcing. When I was writing this presentation, I wasn't 100% sure what I was going to really write about. So I decided to outsource some information for people. For those who don't know who I am, I run a conference called the ACES Conference. It's about the business side of IT consulting. And so I went to that community on Slack and I said, hey, I'm writing a presentation on documentation. I got 0 to start with. What do you guys think? So I outsourced a couple of quotes from some very smart people. The only person I don't know is the one from Twitter. Without documentation, when your memory fails, so do you. That should hit hard. Former you's gift to future you from my friend Tim Pearson. Shout out to Tim. If it's not documented, it doesn't exist. Ryan Grimes. The better your documentation, the less communication you need. Diego Forte. Without documentation, you are the single point of failure for your organization. And you can't build processes and systems without documentation from Ty Davidson. Math A to Z. All of these hold true. You're building processes, you're building instructions, you're building ways of doing your work, you're building efficiencies. It's everything we talked about in the very beginning. That is my presentation. Happy documenting. All right, I have 19 minutes left. Who thinks they have a good peanut butter and jelly instructions? I'll make a couple more sandwiches. I have a question. Yeah, let's do questions first. Let's do questions first. Yes, Eric.
So documenting the screenshots and everything, the thing I always struggle with is how do you deal with a SaaS application? Like 365 stuff in administration because it seems to change by the hour.
Yeah.
And so, I've always kind of leaned towards the thing of redirecting people to, hey, here's a really good vendor documentation how to do that. And either put that in or not. And I don't know if you had any other good suggestions or thoughts.
Will does.
I put the vendor documentation inside of an iframe inside of our documentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, it stays current. They click the link and there it is right there, so long as their link doesn't change. It works
Which,
great.
you know, with Microsoft and Google, it typically does. Yeah, so the one of the things I didn't talk about was like how often you should be updating your documentation, right? And it tends to be a continuous iterative process. When you're writing a piece of documentation, the next person who reads it has to follow it and then edit it if there's something going on, right?
The last step of your documentation should be update the documentation.
Right. So Will said, just for the record, the last step of your documentation should be update your documentation.
Time.
What about time?
Where do you get it?
Oh, so I take a lot of drugs. Yeah, 5-hour energy, Red Bulls,
That's our biggest issue.
modafinil.
Well, time today is going to be given back to you if you document it today. If you spend the 15 minutes it takes to take some screenshots and put it in notes, whether you flush out the documentation or not, but just get the basic
Give 'em
steps
the box.
down. The next person is going to take those basic steps down and goes, okay, this was a great start. Now I need to update the documentation. So the next time you visit that, look back at your documentation and write those additional steps that go to it.
Yeah.
Link pages, link documents, put all that stuff, you know, here's how to log into Office 365. Here is how to set up Apple Mail in Office 365. But a link to that is also how to set up Outlook inside of Office 365. So you put all that stuff together, but you don't have to write every single step the first time you do it. You have to put down the big steps that get you to the small steps.
Yeah.
The rest of it will fill itself out.
If you have any inkling that you're gonna do documentation, just grab some screenshots, just take note of what you want to do.
Yeah. So
Schools are tough.
So I know this, right? Schools are tough. I'm not gonna lie. Schools are tough, and time is a construct, right? Time was invented by man. Time is a construct. Doesn't make any sense. But what Will is saying is, you know, write your big steps and then follow through. I tend to have my team, if there's something that's weird, I say, write it down right now. The next user can wait 5 minutes, so I have something to work from. Or in the example earlier about the server that went down, it took my employee a minute to fix it. It takes 30 seconds to start a Zoom from Slack. It takes 1 click to record it. So while you think that like, oh my God, I have to write all this documentation, it's gonna be forever. It's not really, because you should be writing as you go. Even if you're just shorthanding it, like when you're working, have the notes app, have text edit, have stickies up, and just shorthand it, right? This way you can always come back to it later. But the key element here is start. If you never start, you will never have anything done. And so time can be forever. And again, it's iterative. One of the things that Will was saying, and I didn't mention this in my presentation earlier, but a lot of our documentation actually refers back to other documentation. So we have a document on how to set up, Ben, you're gonna love this one. We have a document on how to set up hyper backup on a Synology. Last night, just point of reference, inside joke, we were talking and he was just dissing on Synology last night at dinner. But we have a document, how to set up hyper backup on Synology. And in that document, we refer to client Synologies with a link to that document with here's their Synology, here's their serial number, here's the person to contact over there, here's how that backup schema works, here's where the drives are, here's where the cold drive is, here's where the extra drives are that's in a box that's behind the server closet that no one knows is there except for Justin because he put it there 3 years ago, and God forbid anybody from the company who works there has ever logged into that room because there's a weird beeping coming from it and it's scaring me. Like, all of that's written down. But it's iterative because no one knew that box was there. I knew that box was there. And when someone said to me, hey, we need a new hard drive. All right, yeah. There's a box behind the server closet. If you look on the right side, look down, not the first shelf, not that second shelf. It's kind of somewhere in between. Like, that person wrote it down. Or because I send it to him in Slack, copy pasta. So documentation doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to take a whole lot of time. You just have to be able to like know that something's important enough or want to actually write that. Sorry. Write it down. Yes, sir.
Our documentation for IT help is in ServiceNow.
Okay.
And then for user documentation, that's like PDFs that we can email. I was curious, are there any good tools that you use or way you store documentation, or anybody if they have any suggestions?
Sure. So I'm very much vendor agnostic unless it's Adigy. We currently use IT glue, but I know nobody with the exception of Will, nobody likes IT glue because it's owned by Kaseya. Yeah, a lot. I didn't say people don't use it. I said people don't like it.
They don't like the company.
They don't like Kaseya. Yeah. IT glue itself is a very, very solid program and allows front and back end. We're currently, because we're a consultative firm, so it's a little different. We're currently moving our ticketing system over to Halo PSA, Professional Services Automation. And we're putting all of our documentation for clients in a knowledge base, and we can limit who can see what sections based on their roles. Halo actually has a lot of powerful parts where, like, let's say you worked at the same company as someone else, you're in finance, they're not. Your login to Halo gets you to see other documents that person cannot. So we're limiting it by that. My rule of thumb on stuff like that is the software doesn't matter as long as it's being done and it's easily accessible by whoever you're writing for, right? If the answer is teachers like getting a 3-hole punched book day one and they're legit reading it, which let's be honest they're not, but like they're legit reading it, then give it to them. And I say the same thing about when you're putting content on the internet, because I do a lot of like podcasts and stuff. Don't limit the way people can get to your information, right? So from the podcasting world, we do an audio, we do a video, we have closed captioning, and we have a blog post. Because I don't know who's coming to see it, and I don't want to force them to use something they're not comfortable with. So it doesn't, at the end of the day, the tool, in my opinion, doesn't matter as long as they can get to it. Make sense? Again, you? Much like Dante, you're not even supposed to be here today.
So 2 points to that. Number one, the documentation that you write should be standardized. So if you're documenting the configuration of a computer, that configuration of that computer should be documented the same way across all of your computers. So what is the IP range that is supposed to be in? What is the name of the computer that is supposed to be in? Who's it assigned to? How do you contact that person? That information, you can't just say, give me an export of, I don't know, system information and put that in there. You actually, I mean, when you look at that system information, it's the same across every computer. Your documentation about how configurations exist should be consistent across. Because if you're gonna go there and you're gonna go, what printer is this computer supposed to be attached to, or so on and so forth, that better be in every piece of documentation. Don't wait to discover it until you need it. And the second part is delivering the information that you have. And I'll use a completely separate analogy. I'm on the homeowners association of my board. There are 148 houses. It's a small neighborhood. We send out emails 2 times a week explaining what's going on, things you need to pay attention to. Well, usually 1 time a week, but sometimes 2 times a week. We have big sandwich boards that we post notices as you drive in and you drive out of the neighborhood. The number of people who still tell us they don't get the notice is crazy high. So we also take paper and we literally use tape to put the notice on the people's door. We still get, I did not receive this information. It's the same thing with the documentation. If you don't put it in a manner that is accessible to all and in the format that they're expecting to see it, then it might as well not exist.
Yeah.
You have to make it there. So if you're going to put together a 1, 2, 3 step, you should also Zoom record your screen to make sure you're doing this and talk your way through it. Because you don't have to update the documentation if Zoom changes step 1 to step 2. You have to get them far enough there to go, okay, well, this is what the expected outcome is. And maybe the wording has changed or maybe the button has moved, but I get the general gist of it. So you don't have to update it every time, but you do have to make sure that you can lead the horse to as much water as you can get to without having to daily keep your documentation up to date.
Yeah. Thanks. Cool? Cool. Any other questions?
I think one of the biggest challenges with documentation is it is the exact opposite of one size fits all,
Yep.
right? Every student is studying something different. Every client is doing something different in their work. but do you know of like a repository of like sample documentation where you can, you know, kind of take a look at it, kind of get ideas, glean ideas from something? I know the vendors have stuff, but that's Microsoft documentation is a nightmare in my opinion.
Actually, a lot of the Microsoft documentation we end up rewriting for our clients, to be honest, right? We'll take it. Like a sample repository, I do not know, but this goes back to kind of what your question is. Like, for us as consultants, every client is a unique snowflake, but they're not. They're all using Office 365. They're all using Zoom. They're all using Adobe. What they do with it doesn't matter. The documentation should still be kind of pretty agnostic to it. Here's how you set up your email. Here's how you launch Adobe. Here's how you sign in and out of something, right? So to answer your first question of a repository, I don't know, but build one, right? Or if you're in a community like this, ask the community, right? I know who your boss is. I know where you can get that information, and if he doesn't have it, he's going to call me, or he's going to call our friend Andy, or he's going to call Ben. How do you do this thing? And I'll be like, hey, check out this document I wrote, right? So ACNs, we're in a elite crew of people, but I'm sure that the people who are all in Mac admins have ways of connecting with one another, and just put it out there. Just go into the channels. Hey, has anybody seen this problem? Does anyone have a document on how to fix XYZ? So use the community as my answer to that. Any other questions? Because I really want to make some more sandwiches. Yes. Oh, hold on, catch box. By the way, I got one from these two, and their document said call Grubhub.
Okay.
Outsource. That's my term. Don't steal my term.
As a less tenured member of my organization compared to some of the other folks, how do I change their culture of lack of documentation?
By starting.
Okay.
Look, we're all Mac people. Innately, somewhere inside of us, we're pirates. We're rebels, right? That was what Mac culture was in like the 80s. Be that person. Dude, I love the fact that you came here wearing a bow tie. You look slick AF. Be that person. Guys, upper management, you don't have what I need. I'm going to do it. Number one, it probably will help you in your career. Two, you'll look like a go-getter. And three, people will want to talk to you and not upper management. And their bosses are going to go, why is no one talking to Bill when they can be talking to Alan? How come Alan's getting all the tickets? How come every ticket that comes to this says, hey, Alan, hope your day is well. How do I fix this thing? And your bosses are going, what happened? You look like the rock star. That's true of really anything. It's documentation notwithstanding. Like if you want to move up in your career, I'm also a business coach. If you want to move up in your career, like take that step, do something. I was joking around with you the other day at breakfast, right? We were talking about you and you were like, I want to get into MDM. And I was like, don't bother. Like if you want to move somewhere, learn all the back end stuff, learn this stuff. Be a go-getter. Be the person who makes the decisions. Who was on the thread, not last night, 2 nights ago, about going out to the whiskey bar, and everyone's like, oh, we should go, whatever it is. I'm the one who just said 7:30, meet in the lobby. Because if I didn't stop that like just leak of information, people would be like, well, I have a car, should we meet here? What should we do? Da, 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 da. No, get it done. So if you have the time and the will and you want to move and you want to beat those things, be that person, be that rebel, write that documentation, do that step, take the next step. Cool? All right, I got 4 minutes. Who has the best peanut butter and jelly instructions? Who thinks they have it? Raise your hand. No, you guys suck. Who thinks they have it? Raise your hand. I want to do another one. I got 4 minutes. I love making sandwiches for people. No? You don't think you have it? Maybe? All right, let me see it. Let me see. You have diagrams. Love it. All right, what are your name? Elisa? Elisa and Becky wrote a document here. Again, their names are not on the piece of paper, so I don't know who to call if something goes wrong. Okay? What'd you say? Yeah. All right. So we have ingredients. Good start, right? You're writing what's needed. Ingredients, bread of your choice. Neutral is best. So you have an opinion in there. Love it. 2 slices per sandwich. Peanut butter, texture of your choice. jelly flavor of your choice. Equipment, butter knife or spreader, and you all can't see it, but they actually drew a butter knife on here, right? So screenshots and video, love it. Spoon optional, plate. It's a nice plate. I thought it was an egg for a second, sorry. All right, I don't have a plate. They didn't give me a plate, so that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna use this. Directions, place a slice of bread, which you told me I already needed, on the plate. Using a knife or spreader, apply the peanut butter to one side of the bread. I'm sorry, y'all on the other side of TV can't see what I'm doing. On one side of bread. Using a knife or spoon. 2 pages. Apply jelly on top of the peanut butter. Oh, you guys are one of those. Also, point of reference, you didn't tell me to use a different knife or spoon, so now I've contaminated my jelly. Users know nothing, right? This is what we're talking about. I also switched the top. All right, so apply jelly on top of bread. I'm just gonna do this real fast. It also, just as a point of reference, right? Everyone who's written this, no one has told me, and I didn't want to make a huge mess. No one has told me how much or how little jelly or peanut butter to put on a piece of bread, right? This is a detail-oriented experiment. Place second place. Oh, and there's a nice little diagram here for anybody who doesn't see it with the bread and the jelly and how it should be, and it ends with eat and possibly enjoy. So good job to the two of you. Round of applause for them. Does anybody else want to have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich before we end? No? I got 2 minutes. Thank you very much for coming to my presentation. Find me at justinesgar.com. Thank you. I'll be around all day if you have questions, and I hope to connect with a lot of you throughout the rest of the show. Thank you.